So we just went up the valley for first light to see if we could find that bachelor group of bull elk, and I didn't find them, but I found a new fairly big bull elk and a handful of cows. First time I've seen cows up there. Poor Ruby dog went absolutely apeshit in the truck because she wasn't being let out. But anyway, I don't know how. I know the audio, the microphone in this GoPro really picks up audio, and I think the background sound of the river would be a pain in the butt. So I might get some stuff shared once we get back home, maybe. I think I can see there's some guys have been drifting the river in their steelhead boats and pulling the boats out right here. Stamp River used to be a world-renowned steelhead river until various human-caused circumstances began to annihilate the fish populations. There's still steelhead in here, just not very many. Lots of salmon come up here still, thank God. A lot of anglers run into odd, unacknowledged beings around here. Often. I think more on that side of the river, but that is a fact. Goes down. But anyway, come on, adventure pup. Let's go up here. It's December 24th, the morning of December 24th. A little foggy, a little dark yet. Our official Christmas activities are done. But anyway, quick note, I know this time of year is tough on a lot of people. I used to be one of those people for probably 3/4 of my life. There's a lot of less fortunate people in the world, especially today. There's a lot of people with family, a lot of people with nothing. And this time of year is really challenging because all it is the celebration of all things sugar and spice and all things nice, families and buying and shopping and giving. And that's a tough thing to have thrown in your face everywhere you turn this time of year if you don't have much. So anyway, and I don't mean have much by money or possessions, I mean by family. Somewhere to go for this time of year. Like everybody's making plans. Big turkey dinners. Everybody's excited and happy, and there's a shit pile of people that aren't. So I'm gonna share with, guarantee you there's a handful of those people here right now. Just gonna come through here to the river again. Where bumps? Up here. Oh, she's just gotta make her mark everywhere, right? But anyway, this has been effective, very effective for me in life. If or when you do hit a low, what's worked for me is I will override my natural, whatever you want to call it, tendencies to go with that low, fuel the low, start feeling shitty, focus on the shitty, and I'll force myself to override it. And my recipe for me is I just start working out. I'd hit a gym more, or else home exercise or hike, whatever it takes. I would move my body, get it moving, and I would go out of my way to listen to positive messages on YouTube. I Google up positive messages on YouTube. I find the right voice, the right message that I was looking for, and listen to that. And that was so effective on me. It was my recipe. I haven't had to do that for quite a while now, but I have done that a lot in the past. It really, really, really is very effective. Worked for me really well. So the key was, and that's my message to all those who may be here right now, they're not having such a good time this time of year. Let's give it a try. Do some flights of stairs, do some squats without weights, it doesn't matter. Get your blood pumping and listen to motivational speaking online. All right, try it, just do it. It will rapidly erase the negative thoughts that you're dwelling on right now. It'll really help you to lose them, push past them, and move ahead and see the bright. All right, that's my quick message that I'd like to pass on. And and I can easily say that's coming from direct experience. All right? Now, I just can't seem to get by this corner of Willow to show you what it might look like farther upriver. Damn it. But anyway, I think I prefer the I know background noise doesn't bother a lot of people, but it bugs me. So, hold on, I'll tangle up here. We'll go up here a little bit more and see if we can't see up to the end of the run of this river here. And then I'm gonna head her back into the little man cave, turn on the heater, and I will continue from there, because the background noise drives me bonkers. Bubs, come here. There we go. Now we got a view. There we go. A lot of locals have had experiences along this river. A lot. So much so to the point that people have often said, you want to see one of these beings, just go hike along the Stamp River. That's where we are, and I believe that is fact. Hey Bubs, let's go. Come on. There we go. This way. Back to the man cave. I'll show you that bull elk and the cows we saw. And, if you would, if you could, if you are in that position right now, this time of year, you're having a bad go, please take my advice and just try it. All right, just try it. Just try it for one day, and I guarantee you it will it'll help you see the good and the bright and motivate you. All right, back shortly. All right, a new day again. Now I'm almost ready. I'm almost ready to get back in my regular, I'm almost ready to start hitting up all my people. I still haven't yet. I got some people waiting to come here. I got too many people waiting on me for various things, and I'm gonna get dog piled. So anyway, I have a whole bunch of stuff I had to get done here to get ready to kick loose a whole bunch of stuff for this place, this channel. And I'm really getting close. Finally, I built my barn door, sliding door for this doorway here. I've had a tarp in this doorway all this time. Drive me insane. Finally did that yesterday. Get everything cleaned up, get everything ready to rip. But anyway, that video clip you just saw, opener, was a clip that I made before we left, and I lost it. I couldn't figure out where it was. I'm like, what the hell? What's going on? And all of a sudden I found it on this SD card, so there it is. I shared it. It was something I made for here earlier. What I'm going to do today, I'm going to get a bunch of people heard right away. And then at the tail end of this video, I'm going to describe to you what's going on in other countries on the planet compared to here. More than likely as well, what's going on in the United States as well as Canada, all right? So I'll do that at the tail end. For those of you who have zero interest in that, which is fine, I'll get the email shared right now, all right? So let's get into her. And I've got my heater going. It's freaking cold in here. Not that annoying of a background sound. Now listen to this. This is titled Kansas Dogman. Hi, Steve. Please don't give my name out. I moved to central Kansas 15 years ago. I wrote in about my brother's experience with Dogman. He tells me bits and pieces of what he saw. And here's a little update on his story. When he saw the Dogman. When he came to a T intersection, as he turned and drove off, he was in a full-size van. He's going around 50 miles per hour. The Dogman was beside the van, looking in the passenger side window where his ex-wife was sitting. How shitty is that for an experience for anything? The Dogman was staring at him and his ex-wife through the window, and it smiled at them and baring its teeth at them. I couldn't even imagine what his ex-wife was going through, being that close. Looking at both of them with a piece of glass between them. I've read several stories about dogman in our area. Just outside the town where I live, it ran across the interstate in front of a businessman that lives in the area, and he said that it was huge and fast. He said he'd never seen anything as fast as the dogman he's seen. I live in an apartment complex, and I always have my window open. All I have is deer, raccoons, foxes, and owls all by my apartment. I do live close to the river here. Outside my apartment, there's no grass on my side. It's a little rock. I have heard heavy footsteps by my apartment in the rocks. Something that was very heavy walking. This year I heard something growl outside my window. I haven't seen anything but the heavy footsteps and the growling. Thanks, I'll update you more when more happens. Thanks. God, that sucks. Doesn't it suck? It just sucks to have to accept this dogman shit as real. It just sucks that it's real. Because for how we are built and what's included in our lifetimes, we've been raised to believe that that shit is all just tales, stories. And I used to not give it any attention or respect at all until I heard from all of you. That's the only reason. That should be the only reason you change your stance on anything, is when you listen to all the people and then you are forced to accept the patterns. And some of these patterns really suck, man. Something like that, built like that, looking like that, doing 50 and intentionally tormenting you. I still stand behind how I feel about those things. I look out that window right now, one's looking at me, eyes on me right there in that timber. I'm gonna go get a big hefty Magnum, my 300 Remington Ultra Mag, and I'm gonna blow its bean clear off of his shoulders. That's how I still feel about it today. Until somehow somebody could change my stance on that with these quote dogman end quote things. Appreciate you sending that in, man. Hope you're safe. I hope his ex-wife is doing fine and not going loopy between the ears because of that night. Here's another one. This is titled Yorkies, Tree Knocks, and quote, how, end quote. Hello, Steve. Glad you took the time to reset these last few weeks, and I hope you're catching up in your rest. Glad you returned safely. Appreciate the kind words, man. Excuse me. You shared the other night about how Adventure Dog had a fascination with your thumb wound. My wife and I lost our Yorkies a couple years back, and your Ruby story reminded me of our two pups. I'm a self-proclaimed do-it-yourselfer when possible, and would often accidentally inflict cuts and punctures on my hands and forearms inadvertently, sometimes without even knowing. Dang those bushes, inevitably. Both of those Yorkies would go ape nuts trying to find that smell. Mind you, sometimes I didn't even know I had cut my skin. They both just had uncanny noses. And yes, I assumed they had a healing agenda because both would try to lick my wound. I think they just liked the taste of the blood, to be honest. They're extremely good hunters in our backyard. They would kill and try to consume rabbits from young to adult size. Killers. Yeah, we had to take the dog to the vet. She's got worms. She's getting rid of them now, but had to go to the vet yesterday. And I explained what the dog was doing, and she's basically said right back to me. She goes like this for the teeth. I go, yeah. And it's an automatic reaction to a scent that they like. And it's harmless. And yeah, they do. She said they do try to assist in healing you. Crazy, right? But I opted out on letting her lick me because of the worms, first off. Gross. Now, tree knocks. Thought for puzzle assemblers. I seem to hear a lot of believers communicate that Sabe knocks on trees for audible location or communication. Question. If the Sabe can mind speak to human beings, wouldn't it also be just as easy to communicate verbally with mind speak, although silent, with each other? I also hear many state that light seems to be a part of their innate abilities, i.e., possibly bending light for invisibility, being able to see infrared light from short to long distances.
seeing humans life essence light, and even avoiding white light to a great degree. Could it be possible? Could it possibly be that knocking on trees with the force of a sabe, not like us puny humans, that the vibration caused by the blow to the tree would cause such a vibration that the tree would release energy in some sort of light phase that only sabe can see? I can hear this conversation between two sabe using mind speak. Quote, "Hey Ralph, where are you?" Ralph replies, "I'm 2 ridges over to the west, about 2 miles. First sabe, "I can't see you through the trees and over those ridges. Knock so I can see you." Right? Possible? Shit. You know what? Right now, anything is possible. And I'm super glad you got your wheels turning. How? This is a question for puzzler assemblers as well, but primarily for your superhero ladies. Would you be able to ask about the traditional, quote, television, end quote, scenario we would see on the old Western movies when one tribe or chief would ride up to one another on their ponies and both would raise up a hand, as I remember, and say, "How?" I certainly am not bringing this up in light of movie entertainment, but I've recently learned there might be a different reason why the two parties would present a hand up and in the air for another reason. I'm curious if there was another reason, and I'm wondering if the elders knew of the reason. Thanks for all you do, and don't worry when or if you get the chance to share this, as I have been an avid watcher for a few years now, and I'll see or hear it eventually. I'll be checking the comments section, as you always suggest. As always, be safe, watch your six, and kudos to Sarah for fantastic products. Love the t-shirts. All right, man. I don't know about the TV thing, about the word how. I remember that as well. But I do know one thing, is the word is when you raise up your hands to show that you aren't armed. I believe that's what I heard of that motion. And as a common motion among the native tribes, as they approached each other, anybody, raise up your hand, shows there's no weapon in it, and it shows you're not aggressive. As the word how goes, I don't know. I mean, that's going to be so many different tribes have had different languages, right? So maybe if there's some Plains First Nations people here who might chime in the comment section below and say whether or not that's an actual part of their language, they can probably chime in, but I got a funny feeling it isn't myself. I don't know. But I do know that the word is, raise your hand to show you're unarmed and you're not coming to kill me. Or you. Alright, what's this next one titled? Hold on a minute. Alright. This is titled. It's titled Rad Now. Steve, I have a few intelligent thoughts for your project. Right on, I'm all over. I have some thoughts that you may not have considered yet. First off, on the cover-up subject, there's obviously a massive disinformation campaign which has to be government-sponsored because they have received bodies themselves, as you know. Soldiers have recovered bodies on Mount St. Helens, as well as the Smithsonian having received them. Maybe Matt Money Scammer is a CIA asset. It would explain how he gets away with all these shenanigans that apparently go down, like the, quote, bear hunting, end quote, rifle incident. And on that same topic, a creature whose existence would nullify the biblical story of Adam and Eve and creationism would be of a classified top-secret government classification, hence the cover-up. Yeah, you never know. You never know. I know one thing, that dude is one hell of a scumbag. That's what I can say with confidence. One hell of a top-notch scumbag. The second thing I wanted to draw your attention to, if you hadn't already become aware of this, is the former U.S. President Theodore Roosevelt. Roosevelt loved the frontier and the wild. He was a hunter. He had personally experienced these beings, and he wrote about it in one of his books. I'm not sure which one. Now, you can't tell me it's a coincidence that after becoming president in 1901, Roosevelt had his authority to protect wildlife and public lands by creating the United States Forest Service and establishing 150 national forests, 51 federal bird preserves, 4 national game preserves, 5 national parks, and 18 national monuments by enabling the 1906 American Antiquities Act. During his presidency, Theodore Roosevelt protected approximately 230 million acres of public land. That is cut and pasted from the National Park Service website, nps.gov. .gov. What I'm suggesting is that he was aware of them and therefore carved out massive sections of our country as habitats for them, which were designed to be only used in certain controlled ways by the general population and also only have certain roads and trails installed and maintained to guide people through them in certain ways. This way, it appears that all of the land is open to you. But the fact is that, as you know, most people will never go 100 yards away from the trail. It seems like a way to control exposure between the two hominid species. Two more interesting things. Number one, they didn't allow us to carry guns in national parks in the past. The only way to transport your gun legally through one was to remove it into each individual component and have the gun absolutely separated into every nut and bolt or face felony charges. Excuse me. Doesn't it seem a little extreme measure to take for people going into the woods? More recently, I think they relaxed the regulations a little, but they are still strict rules. A dark thought I had. Maybe the national parks are like the selective feeding ground. You are allowed to carry your gun in the national forest, but not in the national park. To me, since all of the national parks seem to be surrounded by national forest, this seems kind of like a way to try to fence in the beings through the presence of humans and therefore hunters via the regulations. The last point of note. The Native Americans here in California, where I've always lived, have stories that are told by their elders about the battles that were fought between man and these beings back in the old days. As I recall, this was up in the Sierra Nevada mountains, and the story goes that one of the beings took a baby or a child. They were known to be cannibalistic, so the village responded immediately in force. The braves went to the being's village and attacked with spears and bow and arrows. They lost some warriors in the fight, but they were able to win the battle with superior rate of fire from lances and bow and arrows. The beings fought back with logs and rocks and brute strength, but they retreated eventually. Later, they counter-ambushed the native people who fought them off in several more battles. Eventually, they had an established border, which neither species crossed. Anyone crossing the border from either side was subject to death. Now, I wonder if that is the area where all the people that go missing in Yosemite actually vanish. They accidentally violated the ancient treaty/boundary they had no idea existed. Let me know what you think. Keep it up, man, Zachary. Yeah, I don't know. It's hard. It's real tough for me to wrap my head around some human beings taking on a group of these beings and winning. First off. But who knows what the numbers were, right? Who knows what the numbers were in the... If that is legitimate, if that's what went down, who knows what the numbers were on both sides. So I'd imagine that the native community would have had a substantial amount of people. And from what we gather with the populations that are somewhat being revealed to us, I don't know, would it have been just a small group of them that kept fighting back and forth? And obviously both sides stopped, because I don't think there's any human beings in the world who want to keep on killing each other. Right? So that could be a possibility for sure. Did President Roosevelt, did he select those areas just with these beings in mind? I don't know. If I wasn't a hunter and conservationist, I would probably swing that way. But I'm picturing me being a president and how I feel about the real world out there. And I know he was very avid outdoorsman. I probably would have done the same. That guy's obviously an intelligent man. He probably saw what was coming with people flooding over here and gobbling up the land and building. So I would imagine he saw that coming. clear as day, and I would imagine that was probably more his motivation, was to save the wildlife from humans chopping it up, right? Chopping up the land. So, and yes, 110%, he saw these beings and we're aware of them for sure. And the guns in national parks, you're not allowed to pack a gun in national park here either. I mean, let's face it, there's a lot of people out there who get carried away. They just can't seem to stop themselves when it comes to a big set of antlers for some weird reason. They'll do anything to get them. So, yeah, they don't want people packing guns through parks. I get it. What else did you ask in there? Sorry, I probably missed a bunch, right? Hate when the phone shuts down on its own. President got it covered. Guns. Yeah. There you go. I wonder how legitimate that is about... I mean, we haven't heard too many people. I've definitely heard the story about Native communities. Oh, hold on a second. Phone's ringing. Alright, where was I? Damn it. Had a phone call there and had to take it. I can't believe I had service in here. Babbling away. Alright, what do we got here? Let me mark this as red. All over the map this morning. This is titled, I am currently in battle for my woods. They're there this minute, and I'm kind of sick of getting run out terrified. Holy shit, and this is in 2020. Steve, I'm attaching this to a previous encounter I sent you. In the first one, I was about 15 miles from home, where there's a big string of strip pits. Now it seems there's a family in the strip pits that start at the edge of my property. First, my property is small, just under 10 acres, and the back has a large steep wooded hill that runs down to the cliff of a strip pit. This also is ideal for hunting, as it's a choke point. It also sits up against a few large properties that are full of swamps and strip pits as well. I'm also about 10 miles from where they filmed the Minerva Monster documentary on a Sasquatch encounter. Wow, never heard of that myself. This part of the state has the highest level of sightings because of the valleys and the strip pits. I went into my woods late at night a few weeks ago. I like to go out there at night in case coyotes are around. But as I started walking down the hill, I was overcome with a feeling of dread that I've never experienced here. Hold on. All right. Big monster dog's in here with me now. But as I started walking down the hill, I was overcome with a feeling of dread that I never experienced here. I only got about a third of the way down when I heard a completely new call. It sounded like a squirrel bark, but it was so loud and animal-like that I knew it was bogus. Then I started hearing short, loud whistles from my front and left neighbors' thick woods, as well as large sticks and brush breaking like something big was coming my way. So I slowly backed up, keeping light on the direction of the sounds. One was a massively powered headlamp, and the other was a similarly powered light attached to my AR-15's Picatinny rail. And that was it. First night. Then about a week later, long enough to convince myself that I was imagining what had happened, I headed back in. This time I'm camoed up and I brought an extra sidearm with a light. I walked all the way to my trail camera, took it down, and put it in my pocket. And then I walked to the bottom to spotlight the cliff and below. And as soon as I took the light out of the bottom of the pit and turned around, I heard two of those mean and loud pseudo squirrel barks from two different directions, and they seemed pissed. Then right away I could hear movement from three directions this time, and they were all headed towards me, one coming up the strip pit cliff. I was just a tad bit more concerned this time, and since I knew I was way more than outnumbered, I did something different. I let my AR down so it was way off to my side in its tactical sling. And since the whistling started up again, this time I joined in. Now, mind you, I wasn't doing this to interact or satisfy My curiosity, I was scared to death and just trying to get the hell out of there alive, using techniques to confuse. They're acting in a very protective way, and I wasn't going to F around with a frickin' family of Sasquatch. I also couldn't leave the short way in which I came up the hill into my open food plot field because one was already at the edge of the logging road I walked up. So I kept walking backwards up the longer. Sorry. Man, this big black horse is just coming in my view out the window, so it makes you go like this every time. So I kept walking backwards up the longer four-wheeler trail that goes right through the middle of my woods and has a gradual slope. I kept whistling and shining light everywhere, but I couldn't hear anything now, which actually doubled my fear. I was hoping the whistling would confuse them, and by carrying my rifle down, I appeared as much less of a threat. I didn't get hit with the dread feeling right away like last time either, maybe because I was actually working on my trail cam first and had no focus on the woods. I would have known if they did hit me with it later because I was already scared shitless. When I got out into my field at the top, I panned the light around the property. There were two huge sets of eyes giving off white eye shine at the end of my field on the property line. They were moving around and blinking a lot, and a third finally showed up, and I think I found the reason. The first two sets were easily 9 feet high, but the third was about half the height, a whole family perhaps. They stayed there until I decided to leave. They weren't taking their eyes off of me. Then I just went in the house where I couldn't let on and scare my wife and daughter. Now I don't want to fight, but this is my land. I have nothing against them either, as it was my 5th and 6th encounters, none of which were good at all, but I'm still alive. If I still had a deer tag, it would be on, and a fight would probably ensue. My insurance is paid up. I'm sick of this bullshit. Then them coming around to hunt at the end of the season, scaring the crap out of you, and then nothing for a couple of years. I no sooner get over the encounter and then boom, back in therapy. And I'm not stopping because of them. I'm a man of faith, and I know if they're evil in a demon way, I have nothing to fear. And they're not Nephilim. Nephilim are being hunted in the mountains of Afghanistan and other areas in the Middle East. They're approximately 15 feet tall and much more human looking, with just facial and normal body hair, and they're far more dangerous and ruthless. 100% of the time they kill when encountered. Went out tonight after I wrote this. I have a few neighbors that are younger but experienced woodsmen, and I told them there might be squatters out back. I didn't want to start by scaring the crap out of them. I do think they got a bit worried when I handed them flashlights and handguns with extra mags, do you think? And I'm glad I didn't tell them because there was nothing out. No bad feelings, nothing. Definitely best case scenario. I just hope they've moved on. Also, there are hundreds, if not thousands, of families in the same predicament. Take care. Thanks for sharing. John Olenek. Was getting my game camera out around when I got packed. All right, and here's another email from him. I guess is the first one in from it's 2019. Damn. I'm gonna turn that heater off. All right. I have had 4 encounters, but we'll stick to the most recent in easy-to-read paragraphs on laptop, and we'll follow up with the rest. Wow. I'm including a picture. I've been dealing with this for almost 2 years before I wrote this. I'm not looking for anything, and I'm writing this just for my own therapy. The last day, 2017, 18 deer archery season. So last day of 2017/2018 deer archery season. I was hunting on a friend's property outside of Lisbon, Ohio, near a massive network of strip pits and high walls. I was told that a bear had caused their stud horse to jump off a 100-foot high wall to his death. That sucks. I never bought that story, but it'll make sense soon. This was the last day of the season, so I decided to set up right off a main deer trail on the ground between a few pines with a small pine patch to my back and could not shoot towards because of a house down the hill. I've been sitting for several hours of not moving a muscle, but I knew something was walking behind me. I did not move because I thought it was a deer. I've had curious yearlings walk right up to me several times if you're very still, and I couldn't shoot my crossbow in that direction anyway, so I kept still. I couldn't shake the eerie feeling that something was actually standing over me, and I would have bet that my quiver, which was laying beside me, moved. Then, after, something very close started moving behind me, and the hair on my neck standing up, I heard a very low, unbelievably powerful, low growl. And because it didn't make sense, I mean, nothing like that could be in the woods. I actually decided it was my stomach. But I felt unable to move. Not frozen in fear, just unable to move. Then at the same time, rocks started hitting the ground in front of me. I heard that horrible growl again, like nothing I've ever heard in 40 years of hunting, and it was right behind me. Well, that was it. I swung around, nothing was there, nothing. So I actually blew it off since it didn't compute, and my mind doesn't want to process it, and went to the edge of the pines and got behind a woodpile. I only had 45 minutes of daylight left, and I needed the meat. I don't want to hear shit about using a crossbow. I'm partially disabled, and I want a quick kill. We don't have that shit here, man. There's no debating, and there's no bullshit here. Don't worry about it. As soon as I got down, 3 deer I'm used to seeing and knew the route started to come toward me, and I had cover to get into a good shooting position, actually getting my red dot on my target immediately. The deer then, for lack of a better word, freaked out at something behind them. They started running at me, into each other, and snorting while weaving in and out of the tree line. Deer don't behave this way, ever. Then they started to shoot in all directions over a cut hayfield between the strips of woods and then disappeared. I could actually feel their dread. So I got up, started toward my four-wheeler. While I was walking the edge of the field and woods, another deer came out of the woods across to my left and headed towards me. Again, I was ready to shoot when this deer started running back and forth, snorting constantly. And I mean frantically, in all directions, in the open while snorting. This was crazy. While walking, I looked up, and in front of me, straight branches and logs arranged through and around a tree, and the tree beside it was snapped off about 9 feet up. All the other trees that were damaged or bent over were in the opposite direction, so I knew it was out of place. As I stood there taking pictures, I heard, then saw, a massive tree, 90 to 100 feet in the woods, about 50 yards across the field to my 9 o'clock, began shaking violently by a massive dark figure, followed by a massive grunt and the loudest tree-breaking sound, simultaneously with the grunt, I had ever heard. It was unbelievably mind-blowing loud. I felt I was the focus of its anger. So I pulled out my 9mm, making sure a round was chambered because I thought it was going to charge me next. I knew I had a serious lack of firepower. Probably piss it off more. But when I started to think again, I realized there was nothing. No noise, no movement, nada. What the F? After I settled down a bit, I made a video recording of my thoughts of what had just happened. Then I got on my four-wheeler, drove towards the edge of the woods where the tree fell, and sat there with my brights on. But I was unable to see any movement. The people who owned the property raised and sold gated Tennessee walkers. I own one of them myself, along with a stubborn paint mare, but I had to ask them about the horse they used to stud. They said their best stallion was up on the high wall, exactly where the growling... I'll investigate that in a second. They said their best stallion was up on the high wall, exactly where the growling came from, at me. And it was run off of a 100-foot-high wall by a black bear, which did make sense to me until now. Their prize stallion was not killed by a bear. What really keeps this popping up in my mind, and what I still grapple with, were the growls. I mean, these were deep, rumbling growls. Was he standing behind me? The vocal power was hard to comprehend, and I would have sworn that a curious young deer was sniffing my back right before hearing it. It was that friggin' close. Was Sasquatch standing behind me pissed off, debating on popping my damned head off because I was hunting his deer? Anyway, that's what happened, and I needed to share with someone. I now have a heightened search mode that goes on every time I hit the woods. Thanks for letting me share. I thought my wife believed me, but recently found she didn't. And her brother, who is a wildlife biologist, actually laughed at me. Yeah, well, guess what? Guess who's the biggest joke now? And I don't mean this to be insulting, but it's the wildlife biologists. They have been misguided big time as well. Right? Sorry. I was so offended I wanted to take his head off. People in Ohio kill every coyote you see. Populations are exploding and nobody's doing anything about it. And they're killing way too many deer. Thanks for letting me share. My wife doesn't believe me, and her brother, who is a wildlife biologist, actually laughed at me. Oh, sorry, you copied and pasted that second time by accident. Okay, I gotcha. Shit, there's no photo. Must have been from the property. We'll see if I can find it here in a minute online. Oh, there's the photo. All right, it's just a picture of the timber. See that? And there we go. Man, oh man, I hope you're still here, man. I hope you're still here following the channel. Apologize it took so long to get your email, but it's just the nature of the beast here. You know what I mean? You can't take it personal, that's for sure. And you know what? You may just want to send this video, or maybe another one, whatever. Send your brother-in-law and your wife a video from here to show them that this is going on around the globe, and it's very, very real. But then again, we don't need people to believe or accept this as fact anyways, do we? I don't. Doesn't make sense to. It's funny, on that same note, like I'm going to be doing a podcast here shortly, hunting themed podcast with a guy in his podcast, and I don't know him. I know who he is. Probably why I agreed to do it. And straight shooting dude. And I'm wondering what's going to happen if he wants to bring this topic up or not. I don't know, it's a tough one. Like I don't ever bring the topic up with anyone as a way of promoting it or wanting to talk about it with anybody. I just don't. I keep my mouth shut for the most part. Like when I'm not here, I don't talk about it with people. And I think if he brings it up, I think I might just pass. I'll probably take a pass on that because his audience is going to be 100. Well, who knows? I don't know. We'll see what happens. It's going to be short. I'll give you guys a link to that podcast when I do it, but it's going to be interesting to see if he wants to acknowledge what I'm doing online here with this topic or not. I know he's after my hunting knowledge and experience. I want to talk about that, but I wonder if he will. I wonder if he will drop the question. But anyways, I'm really going all over the map this morning, aren't I? If you would, John, if you're still here, following the channel, email us back again, would you? If you've got something more that's gone down that you feel may help you or me or us by sharing it here through me, please do. Okay, man? I hope you're still. I hope you're still here with us. I hope you are. I guess what I should be doing is I should be getting back into my inboxes and finding these people who have waited a few years to send their stuff in or get it read, and then email them back right away and say, "Hey, guess what? I just shared your email." That's a lot of time too, right? We'll see. Wow. All right, what's this one? I hope everything's going cool there, man. It sounds like he's got his hands full there, right? Or had. This next one's titled England. Hi, Steve. I heard Hi Steve. Have you heard of Sasquatch being seen in the British Isles? Yes, we have. My name is Phil Howell. Feel free to use it, especially if you've heard anything like this from England before. I am an absolutely fanatical angler of every type, i.e. fly, chorus, predator, and sea fishing. My favorite, though, is wild river fishing. 99% of the time, I prefer to go alone. I just love the solitude. I'm a British Army veteran of 18 years service to my queen and country. Consequently, I tend not to scare easily. This will be the first time I've ever mentioned my experience to anyone, ever. Partly because of how pissed I was with myself for being scared shitless. And mostly because who wouldn't think I was effing nuts, especially here in England. Though it was 27 years ago, I still get goosebumps and remember it exactly like it was last night. I'm 60 years old this August, so I was nearly 33 at the time and still in the military. I was home on leave, and the river fishing season had kicked off a fortnight previous, so it was the end of June. I had taken one rod, or a pole as you would call it, and traveling light decided to hike along the river until I had not seen another person for at least an hour or so. I eventually found a spot in the bend of a river, tucked in under the branches of a big old tree. I prefer night fishing to do what we over here call touch ledgering. Basically sat in the dark, no lights, and hold the rod in one hand, lightly holding the line with a couple of fingers, feeling for bites. It was just about 2 a.m., all still, and the only noise coming from the river tumbling over rocks about 20 meters below me. Out of the blue, a rock splashed into the water just in front of me, making me jump out of my skin. No doubt. I quickly turned on my head torch, scouted around, and saw nobody. It left me feeling a little uneasy, but like I said, I didn't scare easily, so after a few minutes, I put it out of my mind-ish and got back on with fishing. 15 minutes later, it happened again. But this time, the rock landed on the bank at my feet. This rock was easily 25 to 30 pounds in weight and would have caused serious damage to me or my fishing tackle had it hit target. 2 a.m., a 30-pound boulder smacks to the ground beside your feet fishing by yourself. No, thank you. I was now well pissed off. I flicked on my headlight, jumped up, shouting abuse, as you do, threatening all sorts of violence if I got my hands on the idiot who had been close and above and behind me up the bank due to the size of the rock. From the other side of the river, I heard a weird moan/growl sort of noise, which shit me up to say the least. I spun around to face the river, shining my head torch along the other bank. The river's about 30 yards wide at that point. Stood on the other bank, directly opposite me, was this thing. I don't know what else to call it. It wasn't massively tall, maybe 5 foot, 6 to 6 footish, but abnormally wide at the shoulders, barrel-chested, covered in what looked like long dark hair/fur, but strangely sort of bow-legged. Its arms looked too long for its size, and it appeared to be pissed off that I was there. I couldn't make out his facial features, but it definitely wasn't human. Owning firearms is illegal over here, as you're probably aware, and the only weapon of sorts I had was my small catapult for firing bait in. That's absolute bullshit, isn't it? Owning firearms is illegal. I'd be breaking the law. Sorry. For a few seconds, I just stared at it with my head torch shining on it, which it didn't like one bit, and the volume of the noise it was making increased sharply, and it put its arm up in front of its face, whilst sort of rocking side to side. It did this for a few seconds, probably because I momentarily shattered its night vision. It then darted behind a tree, still making that unearthly noise. I very nearly actually shit my pants. I grabbed my rod and my bag and ran, leaving my chair and rod rest behind, and didn't stop for probably about a mile. It 100% was not human. We don't have any type of ape or creature remotely like that in the British Isles, or so I thought. I went back the next day to hopefully retrieve my fishing chair and rod rest, but found the rod rest bent up like it had been screwed up, and my chair ripped to shreds and what appeared to be stomped into the ground. There was no prints, as such as the whole area was just churned up and messy. It did make me stay near civilization for a while, but I'm now back to finding my own way out. I'm now back to finding my own way out spots to fish. But these days, I keep my sea fishing filleting knife on me when night fishing. Probably do no good, but it makes me feel better. I've never seen or heard anything like it since, but I have on occasion felt uneasy and got goosebumps with that feeling of being watched. Whether or not that's just my mind playing tricks is something I don't think I would care to investigate, to be honest. By the way, the river is in the country of Yorkshire, in the north of England. Thanks for being a straight-up no bullshit type of guy, which prompted me to finally tell someone without feeling like a dickhead. Cheers, Steve. Phil Howell. Holy shit, Phil. That's another email from 2020. There you go. That pisses me off, man, when I hear about these sons of bitches making guns illegal to have. The people, right? When meanwhile, the government was supposed to be in a position to serve the people, created by the people. Now they dictate to the people and control every move you make and do what they wish. I bite my lip. I hope you're still watching the channel, man. If you've had anything new happen, learned anything, I'm sure you probably have since then, and you feel it's worthy of being heard out loud, get it to me, all right? Get it to me. Man, I don't know why, that really made my blood boil there when I read the words. The British government has made it illegal for citizens to own firearms here. Holy shit, right? Holy shit. Anyway, there you go. I gotta get moving here fairly quick. I don't have that much time because I've agreed to go to a horn measuring big buck day on Vancouver Island. Something I've never, ever done. I've only had one of my game animals I harvested put into any record book once, years ago. It's from a taxidermist who took, actually it's one of these bucks up here. He took my antlers to the same horn measuring thing years ago, and he entered it in the record book under my name for me without me knowing. That's the only time. I've struggled with it in a way because I don't know how many. I'll bet you I've got 30 or 40 record book sized game animals here, but that's just me. I hunted for me. A challenge is for me, and I've always shied away from, and I've never ever liked the competitive, aspect of hunting between humans. I don't want to partake. I don't want anything to do with it. Competing, the people who want to compete with hunting it's brought out a lot of ugly, and I don't ever want to have myself associated with it in a way. Do you know what I mean? Like, what am I trying to say? I don't like competitive between humans when it comes to hunting. That's what I'm saying. But like Sarah's been bugging the shit out of me. She goes, it's not competitive. It's just she's trying to convince me to enter all these game animals in the record book for people to be aware of and enjoy in a way. I don't know what I'm saying. Anyways, I agreed to go today. So I'll take those 2 deer that I got today with my buddy and his daughter's elk that I helped him get, and we're going to go up there and get them measured up, and hopefully it'll be fun and not too competitive, and just appreciate the animals that are brought there. But that's what I'm doing today anyways. I'm babbling. Holy shit, you guys. And I gotta leave at noon for that. It's an hour and a bit drive. Hour and a half. Man, I'm really rambling, aren't I? Now, comparing countries. I said yesterday I would give some examples of what's going on in what North America has been conditioned in a way to feel as a third world country. But now, if you go online, Thailand is considered a developing country. But meanwhile, if you go to Thailand and you go downtown in Bangkok, they have the most modern shit you can ever come up with all over that city. The shopping malls are insane. I mean, Their shopping malls alone make Vancouver, British Columbia's shopping or downtown core look third world-ish, especially the homeless areas. Anyways, let me get on my comparisons, all right? And here's one I will say right away that I said to Sarah this morning, hey, look at this, because David Nino posted on his Instagram a photo of, of chemtrails. Now, chemtrails isn't a conspiracy thing. It's a real thing. And he posted this. And the caption is, imagine seeing this sky and not questioning a thing. Here's a picture of the sky that he posted on his stuff. And as soon as I saw that, this morning I said to Sarah, I go, there's no chemtrails in Thailand. Not one. And they got one of the most busiest airports in the world. It's just crystal clear blue skies every single day. I never saw one jet trail, chemtrail. I never saw nothing. Ever. What's up with that? Our skies usually crisscross this shit. But anyways, the chemtrail thing isn't a conspiracy thing. Somebody's already busted out the photos of the aircraft with the tanks and the sprayers attached on the outside of the body. Another topic for another time. Anyway, there you go. So that's one difference right away, is there's definitely no chemtrails in the air over Thailand. There's no drug hoods, neighborhoods. You know, here in British Columbia, they've made it legal for drug addicts to have safe places to do their drugs. It's not doing anything well for them at all. And our homeless areas here in British Columbia, and I know obviously throughout the United States as well, throughout North America, are unbelievable. I don't have words to describe the sadness, the despair, the failure of us as society when you drive by these homeless encampments. It's amazing. You've got drug addicts everywhere. Mental health issues everywhere. People stumbling around, bent over, talking to themselves, screaming out a telephone pole. Everywhere here in North America. Why is that? Now, in Bangkok, I said to Sarah, she can scare quite easily. I said, because we went on a walk. We walked this one certain area, and it's about a 45-minute walk, and I'm going by my maps, and I'm taking back roads, zigzagging through back roads, turn left here, go down here, go down here. So we're basically pitch black on a Thursday or Friday night, and we're going through the darkest old roads and seeing the locals everywhere. Not a worry. It's so safe, it's ridiculous. I would never do that in an American big city, which I have firsthand experience ever. Never. There's lots of places in our cities here. Not a chance, man. You're not going down there, that road in the middle of the night. Thailand? No problem. Do they have homeless encampments? Nope. I mean, they do have what can be considered to be poverty areas. I mean, some of these shacks that people live in there, you think, holy shit. But at least they've got a home, right? At least they've got a home. I videotaped a bunch of these examples. Maybe I'll put together a video later on. I don't have time to do it right now. But we did walk down a city street where there were about, in that one block distance, there was probably about, seemed to be maybe 10 blatant homeless people who had their bags with them. One guy was laying down on the sidewalk by a McDonald's. And there's some other homeless people laying down on planters and shit along the busy highway, the road, and we're walking by them. And obviously there's, everywhere you go, there's going to be humans that just don't give a shit and they give up. And the very next day we walked down that same strip of road, and those same homeless people were there, and you know what? Every single one of them was sitting reading a book. Reading a book. They weren't pissing in the street, throwing empty bottles at cars and screaming at a telephone pole and injecting heroin into their leg. They're just sitting there reading a book. They just chose to be homeless. 10 people. And I said to Sarah this morning, I'm like, you look at some of the homeless. I saw a video this morning, a clip on what was titled The Forgotten People of Russia. And this guy went up to show these poor people who have been forgotten by Russia, and they're living with no electricity. No nothing. And he's going around, but they all had houses. They all had houses or cabins, and they were burning wood for heat, right? And I said to Sarah, I go, check it out. Even the forgotten people of Russia have it better than Canadians. We've got our Canadian homeless living in tents on the side of the highway under a bridge, right? And here's this big pull your heartstrings video made on the lost people, the forgotten people of Russia who are living without electricity. But they still got houses and cabins and fireplaces, right? Anyway, one thing that's different between Thailand and North America is how do you say it? You know, we got a saying here, fuck around and find out. That is very prevalent in that country. F around and find out. You don't mess around over there. There's consequences, which we don't have consequences here on average, right? For the most part, our consequences are rapidly disappearing in society here, which is causing problems. You have to have consequences for your shit-eating frickin' with your shit-eating actions, if you have them. So, in Thailand today, if you sell narcotics, it's a mandatory life sentence and even death. Guess what? I mean, obviously I Googled up, there is a type of a narcotic there they call yaba, which is very, very illegal to have. I cannot believe if you were to, and obviously there is drugs. Of course it's going to be drugs, but it's very, very rare to see the signs of it. You just don't see it. You don't. And even if you were to test positive for drugs, you get something like a mandatory 3 or 5 year sentence. F around, find out. Right? Some of you may not agree with that. Some of you might think that's a little extreme. That's a communist country. But guess what? They don't have the homeless, drug-addicted city blocks that we do here. They don't have them. They don't. And everybody's happy there. Everybody's rocking it out. So you might go there and see that people have, there's a lot of people struggling here. Everybody's freaking happy. Doing their thing what they need to do to survive. There is fresh food everywhere. Seafood. Multiple species of fresh seafood and vegetables and fruits literally everywhere. Like I said to Sarah the other day, I go, man, it kind of sucks, right? I mean, when we're there, it doesn't matter where you are in that country. You go outside your door and start walking in any direction, and you are going to find multiple opportunities to have a fresh meal cooked for you right in front of you with fresh ingredients all over that country, which is full of millions of people. What do we got here compared to that? Well, we have McDonald's, Subway, and Burger King, and maybe some pizza joints dominating the food that's easy for us to get. Right? Another thing, too, when we would go out in the evening and we'd go out and find something to eat, I had my favorite dishes. She had her favorite dishes, and they were both fresh seafood-based. Pad Thai, fried rices with different seafoods, fresher than fresh, and so delicious it's stupid. And we did the math on it, and we could eat comfortably for around $6.50 each for a serious meal. And there's a new Thai food restaurant that cracked open here in town. Before we left, we went and tried it out, and we ate it, and it was pretty good. It cost $75. Right? Dirt bike ripping around out there. What else? Flying. You've got the same jet planes here and there. The same ones. Burning the same fuel. 1 hour flight for two of us is around a couple $100, maybe a little less each. And on that 1 hour flight, you get treated like an absolute human being. Very polite, very kind, accommodating, attentive, and you get fed a warm meal on a tray. And you have actual cutlery. Right? Fork and a spoon and a knife. Cutlery, which they take back and wash again, just like any restaurant would, on a 1 hour flight. Why is that? Why is everything so cheaper? Why is everything so better over there? You know? Okay, a cab ride. A cab ride. Same fuel we're burning. Air-conditioned vehicle. And what would be, say, I don't know, I think the most we ever paid for a long cab ride would be like $12. Yeah, for like $12. $12. And that same cab ride here would be around $75 to $100. Why is that? You know what I mean? What else? What else? I had a list here. There was a lot of the laws. There's some laws that might seem extreme to people, but in the same time, there's so many things that are lacking of laws. Like you'll go on any highway, main road, and there'll be the main source of transportation for locals is scooters, motorbikes. There'll be a wife, a husband, a baby in her arms, and an infant standing on the floor holding onto the handlebars, and a dog on a scooter. It's amazing to see. Everywhere. Ripping around effortlessly, right? It's accepted way to go. No helmets, no nothing. Just off they go. Rocking it out. That's how you want to travel? Go ahead and do it. If you were to take a scooter on the road here without a helmet, you're going to get the frickin' everything thrown at you, or doubled, right? I guess that's debatable, but it works for them. It works. It's cheap and it works. What else? No strict road laws. Happy people. Happy people. There's so many happy people there compared to here. It's a little mind-boggling. Everybody's happy and rocking it out. And there's no judging either. It's really weird over there. Like us North Americans, we judge the shit out of each other. It's kind of embarrassing. But there's no judging there. At all. You're accepted no matter what. There's just nothing. There's no conflict going on with the people there, man. It's such a stark contrast, you know? Hold on. Let me get back to my list. Like I say, I never really rehearse anything. Medical and dental. So it's globally known that the doctors and dentists in Thailand are far more advanced than here in North America, and that is a fact. And I feel like Sarah's always been... She does not like going to the dentist, and she had something going on up here in her gum, and we had to take her in there. And I assured her, I go, look, it's going to be totally different. It's a totally different experience here when you go to the dentist. And it is. She goes, oh my God, they were so kind and so gentle. She said it was just so different. I go, yeah. And what she had done cost $187. I forget total she had done, including cleaning. And she said that same visit here would have been over $1,000 easily. Another thing too, in Thailand, you can go to the doctor's office and they will do a full check you out from one end of you to the other. Blood, feces, everything. In one day, and the results same day, and they have a buffet style area to feed you while you're there. Right, and keep you comfortable. And I think that costs $300. So that's a little different, right? What else? I could probably deliver this far more in detail if I was a little more prepared and I got the back of my mind of getting texts and phone calls to get ready to leave. Happy people, medical, modern buildings and tech are everywhere. And Bangkok is so modern. And just it's crazy to see, especially compared to Canada. Homeless, read. No shortage of any food or anything. It's very safe. Rarely heard sirens. Yeah, we rarely, here we hear sirens here all the time. I could see an ambulance went by twice, I think, the whole time we're there. What's up with that? I don't know. But anyway, I think the main differences were the price of everything is way cheaper. It's very safe. The people are very happy. Another thing, too, is predominantly Buddhism. And I know in Buddhism, it's shameful for you to blow a gasket. It's a shame. So for a Thai person to be humiliated, it would be if they had to scream and yell and blow a gasket. They don't do it. Everybody's calm, keeps their shit together, listens, and you deal with each other, right? Unlike here. The conflict here is, the unhappiness here is really in your face once you get home. I mean, we have been aware of it for quite some time as we're watching everything unfold in the US and Canada, but the blatant examples of people being happy compared to unhappy here is really, really something else. It's really alarming, really, because it shouldn't be that way. And the no judging, the acceptance of all and everyone, no matter what, is very refreshing. I should have thought about this a little more, because I have a whole lot I would like to touch on when it comes to that country and our countries today. But it really makes our countries look dark. Currently. I'm not saying they are dark as a whole. I love it here. I love the land. I love the real world. But I don't love what's being done to the people here. It's very upsetting. It's very, very, very alarming. It's very, very, very upsetting. You know, you don't see the government of Thailand over in the Middle East starting wars. There isn't a Thai military base all over the planet, is there? They don't need to. Why do they need to? You know what I mean? They're not trying to eliminate farming in Thailand. You know? There's fresh food everywhere. It's so healthy. Anyway, I'm rambling on quite a bit today, probably because I'm feeling a little panicked because I got to leave. And I have some things I need to do before I get out of here at noon. So I'll see if I can, if I didn't make any sense. I think I'll try to put all my video clips together, and I'll make a separate video on what we saw, where we went, what we did. And I'll show you the differences and I'm just trying to get across to you the full flavor of two different worlds. And especially how North Americans, for some strange reason, look down on, you know, a lot of people say, oh, did you see any lady boys? You know, a lot of people have never been there. The first thing they say about Thailand, oh yeah, I see any lady boys? Now, if Thailand were to do the same thing, if you were to tell them you went to North America, they'd probably go, oh, did you go to the homeless, drug-addicted neighborhoods? Right? Who's winning? Who's got something that they can actually humiliate the other for? You can't humiliate the Thais for much. But I'll tell you what, North Americans, we got a lot of shit going on that we should be ashamed of. That's what I'm saying. How do we clean it up? I don't know, but I gotta go. There you go, there's my ramble. Share my story at howtohunt.com. All right? Get me in your experiences, something you need exposed, brought light to. I'll do it. I'm not scared. And I'm going to have some people here one-on-one real soon.